Hey! Here, hold on. Wait. There we go. I had my system sound muted. Tell chat hello.
Hello, Chad. I am Lance, one half of the Serfs. You can, should I just do the bougie thing? You can check us out at youtube.com/the Serfs TV or twitch.tv/the Serfs TV.
Damn
That's where you'll
fucking
find
right you
us.
can. You can do all of that shit and more. But don't get too attached to Twitch. I'm still not allowed there. Wait, I've always wondered, is your real actual human being name Lance? Or
It is, yes.
that's fucking radical.
That would be a weird moniker to go around with, right?
That's so, I mean,
There
I
are
don't
some
fucking
who call me Lance.
I mean, it's rad. Like, I don't know. I like, what's more likely to me? Some, like, maybe one day, like, you were 12 on a hiking trip and you skewered a fucking boar with a stick and you got the nickname? Or your parents looked at this, like, fucking bloated ass baby, blood covering the table, and they were like, we're naming this fucker Broadsword. No, wait. I got another one. It's a really fucking good name. I'm jealous.
Well, you know what my parents were originally going to call me was Zeus, and then my grandma interjected and was like, "You do that, he's going to get beat up every single day." And I mean, she wasn't far off. Lance wasn't that much better, but yeah, the original name Zeus was not
They
not
toned it
preferable.
down for you. Damn.
They toned it down.
That's the secret. If you're a parent and you want to name your kid some badass shit, you have to do it in another language, not English,
Hmm.
okay? So no one's going to like
Yeah.
look at them. But they know, the kid knows.
Hmm.
Um how the fuck are you doing today, Lance?
I'm good. I'm good. I'm a wee bit nervous. I don't know where this is going to go. I don't know if I'm in the midst of a Vosh eviscerating. I don't know what to expect, to be honest.
I watched a lot of your stream. I wasn't able to catch all of it. There was a portion in the middle I got. I don't even know what interrupted me. It felt pressing at the time, but
Hmm.
I was able to catch most of it, and I think that I have a pretty substantial understanding of your broader response to what I said. And I'm not interested in like fucking debating you or anything. Honestly, I'm happy to talk to you.
Okay.
Because there are things I would love to have conversations with more people on the left,
Hmm.
and it's really difficult for me to do so because of my notoriety.
Hmm.
Talking to someone directly is infinitely more productive than like sending back and forth Twitter threads, and
Hmm.
it's a preferable format.
And we're both getting social capital right now too.
Yeah, exactly. And we're making some fucking dollary dues. Phenomenal process, really. Or well, I am. It's social capital both ways. I make dollar dues, streaming, what have you. Um, so of all of the bread, so I started all of this out with like a really high opinion of BreadTube. You know,
Okay.
like 8 9 months ago when I first started
Hmm.
streaming, I thought like, wow, these guys are all pretty cool and great and smart. I'm a little
Hmm.
edgier than them. That's okay. Look, I just want to bring my brand of left leaning thought to all of this, my aesthetic, and maybe that'll bring over more people. And I think
Hmm.
that at this point, I now have a lower opinion of
Hmm.
BreadTube than I thought possible. I think they're like almost in the ballpark of like the skeptic community back in 2016 in in
Are
my
you talking about
mind.
specific individuals or are you talking about the Reddit thread itself?
I mean, I could just like start naming bread tubers, but I mean, in the broader sense, BreadTube is
Hmm.
in the community of left-leaning content creators on
Hmm.
YouTube who focus on progressive content. So
Sure.
distinguished from like the more, like radically class reductionist left-leaning people on YouTube,
Hmm.
who I
Yeah,
wouldn't
sure.
consider part of BreadTube.
I know, but like a lot of people who are quote unquote in BreadTube, I mean, some people like associate us with being in BreadTube, usually don't themselves identify as like I am a BreadTuber, right? Like I am for a lot of leftist causes. Both me and my partner Dave are both like we're socialists. We're trying to push for an anti-capitalist or post-capitalist society,
Mhm.
obviously. But at the same time, like I don't. I just don't do labels, man. Like it's not just something like that, but it's like ultimately, I find that Reddit thread attacks us a lot sometimes. Like there's times when
The
I'll be
subreddit or a
surprised at
specific thread?
the subreddit, the BreadTube is subreddit. Like I mean, BreadTube for anyone who doesn't know, because the term has kind of become ubiquitous with all these kind of lefty content creators. But it started out as a Reddit subthread, right? It was a small Reddit subthread that has exploded to become like I think it's at 70,000 members subreddit now. But that's where the whole BreadTube collective identity came from.
I agree. It's not a particularly useful label. Generally, diversification is really effective for political advocacy. You don't want to feel like everyone is grouped together into these like these distinct segments where one person has an opinion and they all more or less share it, so you can write them all off if you disagree with one, because it makes it
Mhm.
difficult to get people to appreciate the nuance and difference between people's takes.
Sure.
So I mean I agree. It's not a particularly useful label, but generally when
Mhm.
people talk about BreadTube, like we kind of know what content creators they're referring to. The
Sure.
reason
Yeah, yeah.
the reason I open with that is because you're the to my knowledge, apart from people like Contra or Three Arrows or H Bomber Guy, like really large or big, more successful ones, I think
Mhm.
you're the only one I know who I don't think has done some dumbass shit that has made me lose respect
Well,
for
we're
them.
pretty new, so give us time.
Again, I know, fair, room to grow. I mean, now, if now there are probably people I'm missing out. I'm sure there are tons of really good people out there who I haven't that I don't have any problems with whatsoever. But broadly speaking,
So when you say
um,
dumb shit, what do you mean? Like cancelable shit? Like we dropped a gamer word somewhere, or
um,
what are we talking about?
I mean, it's
Like,
kind of the same problem with me specifically. That's kind
okay.
of the lens through which I get to deal with my problems with everyone else's content. I would love to be able to sit back and go, like, I disagree with this take or that take, but usually when I
Hmm.
disagree with someone on BreadTube, it's more like they think I'm like a rapist reactionary grifter who's only
Hmm.
interested in like profiteering off of a lack of edgy reactionary leftist streamers or something like that.
Hmm.
It makes it difficult to engage with their content, you know?
Yeah. Well, whew, okay, so there's a lot to unpack there. I don't know where you want to start with that. Obviously, like I don't want to come on here and just spend an hour saying here's all the things that I find problematic about what you've done in the past, because I am not. I hate the idea of being someone who even gets to judge people on any kind of accounts, right? Like who the fuck am I? Who the fuck are any of us? Like I agree, those were the parts of your video that I agreed with. I don't think that there should be particular gatekeepers, but at the same time, I guess just by virtue of having an audience, you become a gatekeeper, right? Like maybe it's naive of me to say like I'm not a gatekeeper or something of that effect.
Yeah, I mean,
Um,
that's just a consequence of us having an audience. Anytime we say anything negative about anyone, it's going to influence people's opinions.
mhm. Um, I mean, like, do you know our history? Like, what? Like, when you say we haven't done anything wrong, we got canceled or shut down altogether in April on April Fools. Someone shut down, and I think it was an alt right attack because we made some videos on Joe Rogan, and then we made some videos on PewDiePie, and then we suddenly got this mass flagging on our YouTube channel, and that got us shut down. And that's how we actually got discovered by most people, is because there was this campaign to try and, uh, resurrect us. We got risen like a phoenix.
Yeah, I
And
was I was participating in it at the time. I mean,
oh, okay,
just as a
cool.
regular person, I didn't have a channel at that point. I
Hmm.
wasn't familiar with your content prior to that point too, but I saw what happened. It was obviously some sort of some mass flagging, nonsense.
Yeah.
And I was delighted to see the positive reception you received afterwards.
Mhm.
Obviously, the reciprocal treatment on my end got a little bit more complicated, but I don't
Of which we were a part too.
I don't fault you for that in the slightest. I understand how difficult it is to like maneuver social capital in these spaces.
Mhm. Um, so, well, okay, so that being said, so you're saying that we're the only ones who haven't fucked up,
Well,
yet.
you're fun to talk to, and you seem like a nice, positive person every time I see you on stream. Which is why I wanted to talk with you about this because I'm interested in your take, and
Mhm.
I can't have this conversation on Twitter. It's not possible for me to do so.
Mhm.
Very few
Mhm.
people are willing to speak to me. So, do you, broadly speaking, agree there might be problems with how the left online in the English speaking world, let's just specify that because I
Yeah, yeah,
only
of
speak
course.
English. Do you think there might be problems with how it engages in advocacy, problems with self-crit, like there might be issues worth addressing in a pretty substantial way?
Yes, of course. I mean, it's we're not this like amorphous blob of like I'm constantly surprised at how much unity there is, considering how much people disagree fundamentally, right? And especially if you're talking about something like a revolution, you're talking about something that outside of much more violent, bloody revolutions, we're talking about things like essentially we're trying to win in the hearts and minds of people, and in large part we're doing it online as well, right? So yes, there's going to be massive disagreements between groups, and there is a huge amount of problems within that, and that's like I said when I was going through your video, I think those are the parts of your video that I agree with, right? I don't know if I agree with. I mean, well, we can unpack that in a bit with the oversensitive aspects of it. I think there are members of marginalized communities that have a right to be sensitive. I mean, I come at this, and I can't speak for you, but I come at this from an incredibly privileged position, right? Like I'm a cishet, I'm white, I'm male. I have every noticeable advantage when it comes to, all my privileges. So yeah, I'm not going to be as offended by certain jokes or certain stuff that other people are, but I'm also not part of, say, a community that has suicide rates that are almost at the 50 percentile, right? So
Yeah.
in
Or
that
yeah,
case,
like attempted. Yeah, no, it's I
so in that case, I get why they might not be, as sensitive to. Sorry, they might be way more sensitive when it comes to certain jokes, when it comes to like analysis of stone toss cartoons or stuff like that. Like I get why they would be very upset at those kind of things.
I don't have necessarily a problem with sensitivity as a concept. So to clarify, because sensitivity has like fucking 18 different meanings. You can be
Hmm.
sensitive in the sense that you like physically feel things easily, or sensitive in the sense that you're receptive to other people's feelings. I mean sensitive in the sense of vulnerable to being hurt.
Right.
Which I think that's the definition you were using here too, because that's obviously what
Hmm.
I'm complaining
Yeah.
about.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't have a problem with sensitivity as a concept at all, and I do recognize that there are communities for whom the sensitivity is quite warranted. The trauma associated, I think, with the
Hmm.
minority experience in basically the entirety of the developed world is pretty
Sure.
is pretty substantial. I wouldn't fault someone for that. My issue, I think, is when that sensitivity or vulnerability becomes
Hmm.
characteristic of our rhetorical and advocacy strategies. So I
Hmm.
think that nurturing and caring for and protecting sensitive people is a really important part of what we do. It's like
Hmm.
literally life-saving. But at the same
Hmm.
time, it can get in the way of other things, like developing the strategies that help us reach out to broader groups of people and sort
Hmm.
of pull them away from the alt-right pipeline. And that's where I have an issue, because I think the left is really oriented towards that culture of compassion,
Yeah.
and very, very much detached from a culture of ruthless pragmatic praxis. And we need
Yeah.
that for the compassion to last much longer than a few more election cycles.
Yeah. Okay. So who are in these camps? Is it like you and Pig Puncher who are kind of like in these isolated groups of becoming the edge lords of the left?
Pig Puncher and I do very similar things. We're also our audiences do overlap with to some extent with Destiny's, though obviously the distinction there being that Destiny is a liberal. So,
Hmm.
that's a pretty huge disconnect.
Yeah.
But yeah, for the
But you
most
guys
part.
came from the school of Destiny kind of thing, right?
Oh, totally. I was a
Yeah.
fan of Destiny's for a literal decade.
Hmm.
From 14 to 24, or no,
Hmm.
15 to 25.
Hmm.
Just 100%. And I disagree with him on a ton of stuff, but I think his rhetorical techniques are pretty valuable, and
Hmm.
I want to see those brought over.
So as like, and I agree because I said this in my video. I don't know if you got to that part where I was, talking about you. I said I think that there is something to be said about what you do and about what you and Pig Puncher do, for example, because I agree with you. There is a big problem with the alt-right pipeline, and you do things that I could not do. All right. You serve a function that I cannot do. Maybe I'm a little bit dirtbag myself, but I usually just go after right-wing reactionaries. That's what I find cathartic. That's what I find pleasurable. So that's why I do that, right? At the same time, I'm also a little bit in the SJW camp because I don't uh openly use. I don't know if you use the N word. You probably use like,
I
the R
said it
word or
like
other
once on
slurs.
stream while arguing with Nazis, but it was to shut them up. I think I
Okay.
generally try not to. Listen, I may have listen, okay. The Joker movie came out recently. All right, we're all a
Yeah.
little bit on edge. We all want to say it. Um it's difficult times for you to be asking that.
But all that being said, like that's the thing I have a problem with, like, because I've always wanted to say this both to you and to Pig Puncher. Can you not be edgy? Can you still not be edgy and not have to use language that directly marginalizes people at the same time? Can we not have it both ways?
I think, well, for us specifically, I think that would invalidate a lot of the point. My goal is to show people that you can be like me and still be a leftist. I think there are a
Hmm.
lot of people who grow up online in a mostly apolitical space, or they think it's
Hmm.
apolitical. Nothing is apolitical, but they think it's
Right.
apolitical, and they get a little edgy. They get a little irreverent, and maybe they
Hmm.
drop some gamer words now and again. I'm not saying that's a good thing, but they do it in a non-hateful context usually. A lot of lefties forget
Hmm.
that's even possible. And
Right.
then these people eventually grow up and realize there's this giant political cultural war going on. And nowadays, this is happening younger and younger. I had somebody like 12-year-olds who were like, yeah, I'm an alt-righter. Like, what the fuck? Um, it's crazy. And when they and if they look to the right, they will see a glut of content creators who are just
Mhm,
like them. They just extrapolate some of that edginess into political positions. So you have
mhm,
people like the Quartering who are edgy and making fun of the oversensitive Tumblrite SJWs. And
yep,
now and again, I'm like, yeah, trans people are kind of gross, but all of it sort
mhm,
of is extrapolated naturally. It all feels cohesive to what these people grow up on. And this is a very large group of people. If you look to the
mhm,
left, though, we might as well be monks to these people.
mhm,
The way our culture is like be very careful with your language and make sure not to use any microaggressions. Like, obviously, a lot of this is a caricature, but it's what a lot of people see, and it makes them feel like there's no way for them to be themselves if they move leftward. So of course they gravitate right. I think
mhm,
that I straddle a line where my performative edginess is genuine enough because I am edgy. I'm not like making. This is by no means a character. I act exactly the same off stream.
sure.
It's far enough over the line that I can appeal to edgy reactionaries who are like, wow, never seen a leftist like that, and maybe bring them over.
Mhm,
But it is tempered enough by progressive politics that I'm never actually, at least I hope I don't, marginalizing or hurting the people in my community or contributing to really bad thought processes like
mhm.
transphobia or racism. And it's a hard line to
And
walk, but I try my best.
right, and what if it did though?
I would make the argument if I had to say that I was doing that, that I have done infinitely more good and have the capacity to do more good by reaching out to an audience of, well, I can't reach all of them, literally millions of people who the
Mhm,
left presently isn't really capable of accommodating. I think I do far more good by reaching out to them than I could by like occasionally saying some like harmful or edgy stuff. Because if I do that, and I have done that, when that
mhm,
happens, usually those people just drop me and move
mhm,
further left. And if
mhm.
that's the case, I've done my job. I hurt your
Right,
feelings. I'm really sorry, but I'm moving people over. And if you're hurt by me now, you can go to people who are more orthodox. And I've done it. I've de-radicalized. I've served my purpose.
right. So if that's the case, then wouldn't it have to also be, I guess, an acceptable risk that you'll also be a little bit alienated in the process? Like this is your cross to bear in that situation. And I
Yeah.
know it makes you sad that you're obviously isolated from other aspects of the left, but maybe that's just going to be the price for you serving that purpose.
I knew that a degree of alienation was inevitable, but I didn't expect it
Hmm.
to be this bad faith. A lot of it is really stupid. I think there are a lot of really decent criticisms you can come up with my behavior. There are forms of rhetoric I engage in that are frankly unproductive. It's a learning process, and I try my best. And I have gotten better than I was 4 6 months ago. A lot of the criticisms I see from the left, though, are as bad as and as delusional as the criticisms I get from the far right.
Hmm.
Either flat out falsehoods, like literally just rumor mill gossip, or content creators who will be as uncharitable to me as you could like conceivably be without flat out lying. And that really bothers me.
Hmm.
Tempered dislike, I can deal with that all day. But
Hmm.
outward hostile bad faith aggression, that
Hmm.
really bugs me because I feel
Hmm.
like I'm shoring up a weakness the online. I'm trying to, again, I'm not trying to be self-important, but I'm making an effort to shore up a weakness the online left has had for a while. And I think that process, even if it's not the cleanest job, should be shown at least some degree of credence. I mean,
Hmm.
otherwise, it's not really being given the attention it deserves.
Hmm. Yeah, but I mean that's where it gets difficult for me. Like, so I if I was to have, in my opinion, a good faith criticism of you, okay, and
Mhm.
and this will be one of the only ones I'll levy, is that when that whole thing was going down with the trans jokes that you made, that one
The
particular
thought
trans.
slime meltdown stream,
I don't. Oh no, no, I wasn't talking about that. Oh yeah, maybe I can talk about that as well.
the Twitter tweets.
I was actually talking.
That's the big three. They've got the transphobic Twitter tweet
Sure,
things. We've got the poppy
sure,
drama, and we've got the thought slime
sure.
stream, and those are the big
Okay, so
three.
the transphobic tweet. I'll start with that one first. Okay,
Mhm.
I knew in my heart of hearts, because I had seen some of your work and I'd seen your tweet. I know that you're not transphobic. Okay, and I know that you do a lot of active work to try and help people in the trans community. And I can't say this because I don't know the statistics, but I'm guessing a huge amount of your fan base, right? A large amount of them are probably trans as well.
I've got a
I mean,
pretty
just
huge trans fan base, yeah.
yes. Okay. So I knew when you made that joke, I was like, he's not being transphobic. But I also could see anyone who would read that joke from first glance. If you saw that joke on Twitter, my first thing would be like, this marginalizes trans people because of how it's worded. Like that's just the first impression I would get from seeing it, just in general. And it's out there, it's in the ether, it goes viral. You have a huge platform. Again, you're a controversial figure. So that's how I see this whole thing suddenly explode and blow up from there, right? At which point my go-to for me as a person, maybe this is just by virtue of being Canadian, because I over apologize for everything, is probably to come out and be like, you know what, I understood how this probably marginalized people, and I'm sorry, and that wasn't my intent, right? Rather than double down and do the whole, I help trans people, how could you not see it that way?
I mean, this is one of those things where it's really really difficult for me to address the criticism in an honest way. And it's
Hmm.
because so this is something that I've dealt with in other forms of drama. If you apologize for any misbehavior or impropriety,
Sure.
you implicitly validate everything that was said from people who are asking for an apology from you. So for instance, like in a more domestic scenario, right? Like if you fucked up and like knocked a vase over, but also like your brother lit the curtain on fire and your parents
Hmm.
are freaking out at you and you specifically over it, if you
Hmm.
apologize, you're implicitly accepting responsibility for everything. And I didn't want to do that because a lot of people came in and said some really dumb shit. Like a
Yeah.
lot of people.
Yeah.
And I recognize, of course, that that is a
Hmm.
consequence of being a public figure, but
Hmm.
it does bother me, and it still bothers me that
Hmm.
prior to that tweet, I had no on record basis for even accusations of transphobia.
Right.
Like it was all positive. Like there wasn't even like an argument to be made for negative, and all it took was that tweet
Hmm.
and literally hundreds of like Picard anime avatars on Twitter were accusing me of being a reactionary transphobic grifter. And I would
Sure.
make the argument that even if my original tweet was bad,
Hmm.
and it is, and I'm not denying that, a
Sure.
community in which that is the reaction a person receives for something like
Hmm.
that after a precedent of nothing but good, that's a really toxic culture. And it bugs me because I feel like I'm getting gaslit when I talk about it. Nobody else
Hmm.
seems to want to address it. Like that happens, and ContraPoints gets harassed off Twitter, and there are like
Hmm.
tons of people. If you just search the names of like any popular bread tuber, there are people like seething with anger at how they're not progressive enough. And there are a
Hmm.
lot of them. And anytime I want to talk about these people who are unquestionably harming the left, I get told like, "Oh, I'm just reiterating reactionary propaganda. Oh, I'm just reiterating the Tumblr SJW propaganda." It's
Hmm.
frustrating, and I mishandled it the first time. I wanted to handle it better the next time, which was the Thought Slime drama, and that didn't go well either. And I think I
Okay.
did okay with the videos that I released a few days ago, and hopefully that's all I have to say on the subject. I think I did it in a mostly positive way.
I think that's where you and me would fundamentally disagree then, where it comes to, you can't, if by apologizing you are validating the arguments as a whole of everything that's been levied against you. I don't necessarily agree with that. I think you can apologize, and you can apologize on your own terms for anything. I do it constantly on my stream. I have accidentally misgendered people, and I know that's not as egregious or as big a thing, right? But I've accidentally misgendered people, and immediately they start calling me out. They're like, they are they them. It's not she her. And so like I'll have to do, like, I'm not the Pope. I'm not infallible. I'm very sorry. Like I apologize for misgendering them. It wasn't my intent, right? I wasn't trying to do that as a power move or something like that. But like I have to come to terms with the fact that I just did this.
I mean, if 80% of the criticism you were getting for that misgendering was wildly bad faith, people accusing you
Hmm.
of being like a reactionary bigot and a grifter
Hmm.
who doesn't care about trans issues and called them whatever pronoun they didn't want to be called by because you secretly think they're subhuman, don't you
Sure.
think you might feel a little bit weird about capitulating and not even acknowledging those elements of the community?
But then I would apologize on my own terms. I would be like, I'm going to apologize because I misgendered this person. That's where this ends. And for everyone else who's in bad faith saying all this like vile and toxic shit, that's your own. That's a you problem, to quote Ben Shapiro, right? That's not a me problem.
I mean, it is an us problem because they're part of our broader political movement, and I think they're toxic and they make it much more difficult to do the job that we need to do than we should. But no, I don't disagree. It's possible to make targeted apologies. You could say something like, "And to those offended by the tweet, I apologize. While I disagree with the characterization that I am a reactionary or that the tweet was rooted in transphobic thought, I nonetheless believe it was harmful." Yeah, no, I agree. I think that's probably something that I would do if I made that same mistake today. That was like 4 or 5 months ago.
Yeah. And sorry, what's the other one?
The thought slime. That one was a lot worse. I stand by most of the points I made. I just made him too angry and with a little bit too much spice. I topped it off a little bit. Too much oregano, Parmesan. It's a little bit too much.
I can't remember fully what that war was about. I mean, I would come to this discussion fully saying that like I'm friends with Thought Slime. Like I also like really love his work. So
I
like,
wouldn't
I don't know
expect
if
you
I'd
to
be.
compromise any of your. Again, that's one of the other issues. It's that anytime anyone implicitly accepts a criticism of the broader behavior in this community, that means they're
Mhm,
compromising the relationships they have with other people in that community. It's one of the
mhm,
reasons why large integrated communities stagnate intellectually. It's really
mhm,
difficult to move forward as a group, so everyone gets held behind by the like laggiest person.
mhm.
One of the
Well,
reasons why I don't like
that's my point.
RedTube.
Yeah, well, that's one of my reasons for coming on here and wanting to talk to you about these kind of things. Though, is that like, I think if you are trying to do this important work that you're talking about, and I again agree, I think it is important that someone or there is people out there who can pull people from this pipeline, from this alt right pipeline. Because it's one of the things I talk about constantly, Flosh. I completely agree with you that it not only exists, that it is weaponized and it is aggressive, and it's something that needs to be pushed back again. So I think individuals like yourself or Pig Puncher for that other point can serve an important tool in helping to de-radicalize youth in this respect. I just think that at the same time it doesn't mean that like is part of being edgy mean that you have to be A, infallible, or B, you have to suddenly use some of the same rhetoric of the people that you're actually actively working against, kind of thing, right?
Well, what kind of rhetoric?
Well, okay, if for the language thing, right? Like I don't know how edgy you guys say when you say like we need to use edgy humor. Like I just watched I keep using that word because I just watched Pig Puncher's video recently where he's like, you need me on the left, I'm important. You need edgy boys who can make this kind of, these kind of humors and stuff. Um how much of the language that you both use, I guess, is necessary to do that? Like for the anti-recruiting process.
Well, I don't know what you mean by language, because an edgy joke, like, there's nothing inherently reactionary about edgy humor. Chapo Trap House, the subreddit, is pretty woke scoldy, and they're nonetheless pretty edgy, joking constantly about death and performative cruelty. And I mean, it's a really big subreddit, so it obviously attracts a lot of people.
Are they like I've never been in the subreddit. Like how
They're
woke
very,
scoldy
it's
is it?
very progressive. They're like
Okay.
100%. It's all like trans rights, NB rights. No one criticizes the sensitive left there. They're
Hmm.
probably much more sensitive than I am, but they're the ones who coined the term dirtbag left. That's
Yeah.
what I
Oh
thought it would
yeah.
get associated with. A little
Hmm.
cruel, a little edgy, still progressive, but a lot of people think it means, or I mean, words don't have set definitions. A lot of people say it means like a full-on reactionary class reductionist leftist, and that's definitely
Hmm.
not what I want to be associated with.
Hmm. Yeah. No, I don't think anyone does. Well, okay. So don't make me like straw man you or put words in your mouth. Like what do you see as acceptable for you operating within what you have to do to get the job done?
Okay, so there's some obvious things. Performative cruelty is a must. This is
Hmm.
one of the. This is why. This is one of the reasons why the right has a huge one up on us. People like to laugh. Most people like to laugh. Okay, so this is a very popular position anywhere outside the very far sensitive left. People like
Hmm.
laughing at other people being hurt.
Hmm.
Cruelty is the point, and whether or not you think that's a good or a bad thing. Like, that drives views. That drives interest. And
Hmm.
and I think that you can. And most of the time, when people do that, they're channeling against reactionaries. Like Steven Crowder will make a joke about like the fucking refugee seekers at the border or something, and he'll have like the little
It's punching
video.
down basically.
Exactly, yeah, the little, like, the
Yeah.
Hispanic guy with the lollipop, like, mi amor, like, wait, that's
Hmm.
Italian, but I'm sure you've seen that clip. It's
Sure.
really fucking bad. But you can be cruel in lots of sorts of ways. I call people fucking brainlets and smooth brains all the
Hmm.
time, always on the right. I tell people shit. I tell people to kill themselves. I
Hmm.
try and direct this pretty exclusively against the right. Um,
Yeah.
for the most part. So the performative cruelty, it drives engagement and it gets people interested. And as grifty as that
Mhm.
sounds, if it's popular, that means it brings people over. And if it brings people over, that's more people I have the chance to de-radicalize. And that's all I care about. But in
Mhm.
terms of like using their language, I say faggot sometimes, but I'm gay, so I feel like I have plausible deniability there, and I usually say
Mhm.
it while referring to myself. That's probably not too
Are
bad.
you gay, bi, or have you always identified that way?
I'm actually pan, gay in the
Okay.
in the queer sense, but you know, it's
But when you were growing up, were you mostly cishet in your presentation and in your sexuality?
yeah, and I still am. So I don't have the like the word was used against me defense or anything. I more rely on the consequentialist. Nobody could watch my content and believe I'm actually leveraging harm against queer people, considering that I
Yeah, yeah,
defend
no,
them
of
like
course. But
90%.
then okay, so in that specific example, because as someone too, like I think, and this is kind of something funny you talk about, but I think as we get older and we learn about how there's toxic masculinity, and we were kind of raised to think of like gays being an evil thing and all that kind of stuff, and I was called F slurs growing up and all that kind of thing. Even if I came out now and said like more openly bisexual because I understand sexuality more, I still grew up with the privilege, for example, of being cishet and the privilege of not being beat up or called like the F slur, uh, and actually having to do with my sexuality, right? Like I was beat up
I
and
would never disagree with that. I would never try and play like pity points, like oh I can use the word because I was blah blah. The
mhm,
a lot of this is something that I try and do it. I think I do it really well, but it's hard to
mhm,
talk about because people will say like oh you're saying it's just a joke. One thing I really
mhm,
like to do is I try and play a caricature of masculinity.
sure,
You know what I look like. Like I'm obviously a fairly mask presenting dude, but a lot of the
mhm,
posturing that I do is done with the specific intent of hyperbolizing the idealized masculine parable and then sort
mhm.
of satirizing it with the. It's kind of like the Virgin versus Chad. You know that meme, the
Of
Virgin.
course, yeah, no, I think it's fucking hilarious.
It's a great, and you know the original one because lately when people do the Virgin versus Chad meme, the Chad is just the good thing and the Virgin is
Hmm.
the bad thing. But in the original one, the Virgin was supposed to be the relatable one, and the
Yeah.
Chad was supposed to be so masculine and confident that they actually
Hmm.
came off looking like a fucking lunatic.
Yeah.
That's what I think that was a brilliant satirization of masculine ideal, and I
Hmm.
try to do that. One of the ways in which I do that sometimes is by like over performatively, like as a caricature, like like yeah, so I'm such a fucking faggot, you know, and I try and posture with it, and it's obviously difficult to do ad libbed because it's usually contextual, but
Sure.
I always make an effort to not do it in a way that anyone,
Hmm.
even a new watcher, could watch and interpret it as me actually hating gay people. You know?
Hmm. Hmm. And so,
It's
so
the
that
idea.
entire idea of like, you're kind of faux red pilling people, or whatever the opposite is of the red pill, as like you're using the whole like I am what a man should be, I'm alpha, as kind of like the context for the joke.
It's the oil for the pill. Yeah.
Okay.
Exactly. It
Okay.
makes it easier. I can't tell you because because I spend a lot of time in right leaning communities. I apologize by the way if I'm ranting or talking over you or anything. I don't
No,
mean
you're
to.
not. No, no, you're going
Um,
once.
I spend a lot of time in right leaning communities. I consider it research. Like, I'm doing a
Hmm.
safari,
Sure.
and these people are of course insane, but they're also disgusted by the
Hmm.
femininity. This is why the soy meme comes up so much, and that's how they
Hmm.
talk about a lot of bread tubers.
Hmm.
Funnily enough, Peter Coffin, despite being M, because Peter Coffin uses the beard and stuff, like varying people get it to varying extents, but it's a way for them to disregard the opinions of others.
Hmm.
And I think like, okay, fine. If we're playing aesthetics, then fuck it.
Hmm.
I'm big. I'll get jacked. I'm currently in the process of getting yoked. We're working on it. Okay, it's a work in progress. I'll
Sure.
come in here. I'll use hyperbolic masculine language, and then when they
Hmm.
get used to that, like, oh yeah, finally a leftist I can respect, then maybe they can sit down for some of the more analytical stuff. And
Hmm.
I've gotten emails from people being like, I'd never seen a leftist act like you. At first, I thought finally like a not soy cucked one or whatever, and now 2 or 3 months later, thank you for helping me out of the alt right pipeline. And it's really, I think it's effective. I guess there's no hard data on it. I don't know.
Well, see, that's the thing. I would like to know hard data on this, because when you say like, if I do things that maybe uh, didn't come across as having the best intent or something like that, but at the end of the day, if it has an outcome that is beneficial, do you have any idea on how much do you weigh that, the pros and cons between how many people you convert versus maybe
I
people that are marginalized in the process?
I get. I mean, So in terms of like harm versus harm reduction, I get the emails. People email me or message me being like, "Holy shit, thank you so much," or "You've shown me a new way of thinking." I've probably gotten hundreds of those, but that's not represent like you like. There's no way I can't extrapolate that to like a broader population. I have no idea what like hidden variables or like what selection bias has taken place there. There are also people who have been upset by what I've done. Obviously, quite a few of them, though I think many of them have gotten upset via a second party. Most of the people who talk shit about me when I see the Twitter threads, I have the feeling haven't watched my content that much. They mostly just seen the rumor mill. In terms of the direct harm versus benefit, I would honestly say, and this sounds callous, but I guess I just don't really care much about the harm because I know that when I harm those people, it's because those are the more sensitive elements of my community. And when I do that, they move further left, not further right. And I would rather engage in a process that risks throwing people further left than maybe, it's fine, I don't care, but can include many more, then I would like stay with the tactics the left is currently used, not risk offending or hurting anyone's feelings at the cost of alienating potentially millions of people who could otherwise be reached.
Sure.
And maybe
I
I'll
mean,
reach that equilibrium someday, you know?
and again, by doing so, though, by virtue of doing so, you are going to alienate yourself. You're going to create this bubble. And I know it makes you sad, and it makes me sad that it makes you sad. But that's going to be.
I
Just
just
a
want good
byproduct.
faith criticism, and it shouldn't be. I'm not asking much of people when I say they should act in good faith. It's fine to dislike me. I'm not like a child. And what bothers me is when people I mean, you know, I act childish sometimes, but when people dislike me, I just like it to be based in like actual good arguments. Most of the time I just see like really like bad misleading ad homs, and sometimes I see like really bad faith interpretations. I think Jack Saint has done that quite a few times in the past. Arguing in bad faith is something the left has more of an issue with than I thought originally. I mean, you were there. You don't have to say anything, but you were there for that conversation between Destiny and Peter Coffin.
Yeah, I was in the call.
Yeah. I mean, you were like actually feet on the ground there, and boy, I know that making video essays is important, but it's also really important to be able to substantiate one's ideas. Like
okay, so what I'll say to that is I think different, like, okay, so the problem there that and this was my fault, was that I was the one who set up that phone call, all right? And I think, and I've already said to you both in, you know, my response to you and in this conversation right now, I think, you know, different people have different abilities. Some people can do multiple things. You are really, really good at debating and I guess de-radicalizing people who are on this alt-right pipeline, right? Some other people are really, really good at making video essays. Some people might be good at doing both. Some people might be only good at doing one of those two things, right? I think, though, but that one of the things about having this idea of collectivism, this idea of leftism, this idea of solidarity, of camaraderie, is that we should be doing each to the best of our abilities, right? And receiving according to our needs. I mean, that is ideally what we're trying to do.
No, I agree. I don't think everyone needs to be a debate god. I just think it'd be nice if the majority of leftist content creators weren't engaging in like really blatant dishonesty when they shit talk to me. Because my ability, because you say like what I do will necessitate like some pushback. I'm fine with that. If some people are like, "Hey, Vosh took it too far last night. Hey, Vosh was kind of a fucking asshole. Hey, Vosh just told his entire chat to kill himself." I take it on the shoulder. I do these things, you know? So, trying to work and telling chat to kill themselves. Be pretty impressed if I caused a fucking 2,000 person mass suicide. But, you know, you never know. Maybe one day. But I can take those criticisms and I can learn from them because I want to improve myself. But when the vast majority of the criticisms that I get from people on the left are more just performatively denouncing me than they are like meaningfully addressing anything that I say, when they seem completely detached from reality, not only can I not learn from those things, but it hurts my ability to do my thing as well. I never come in between other people's on the left and their ability to do their video essays or whatever. Even when I strongly disagree with somebody, like Thought Slime, for example, I said this, and I've said this every single time I've said something negative about them. They do good videos. They're worthwhile, and if you enjoy them, you shouldn't feel bad about enjoying them. I never make an effort to take away from what other people do, because even if I disagree with them, we're all on the left together. But I am never shown that credence, not by anybody. On the well, okay, there are some people, but for the most part, I'm not shown that credence, and it's frustrating because my ability to do my work would be infinitely easier if people would say like, "Oh yeah, Vosh is a fucking asshole, but he does good work." Which is something you do. Not saying you call me an asshole, but for the most part, that's the sentiment. Rather than Vosh is a fucking asshole, comma, and a transphobic, reactionary, grifter, racist, rapist piece of shit. Never watch him. And do any of my followers watch him? If so, why? At me or get unfollowed. That's really bad. It's
Yeah,
unproductive.
I think you've just described two kind of extremes, though, right? I think there are people who are doing that to you in bad faith, and there are people who are doing the asshole thing. Like, yeah, he does important work, and he's a bit of an asshole. I think there's both.
I'm
I think
fine with
I
that.
think
I can take that.
But I think like anyone else, like here's my correlation to you. If I'm going through my comments, and I shouldn't do this, but sometimes I go through my comments on YouTube, I can read 500 that say "kill yourself." I'm coming to your house. I'm smashing your windows in. Right? I can read 500 of those, and sometimes they just roll off my back.
From the
I can read
left?
one comment that says, "Hey, by the way, you should have said this when you didn't." And for some reason, that will sit with me, and that will infect my brain for months. And I don't know why, but sometimes, like I can't position why some certain comment is what I focus on, but I might ignore the fact that there was 5,000 positive comments. So there was 5,000 I loved your work, or there was 5,000 you did great things, because you get focused on that one, bad commenter. And in your case, it might be 100 people who are acting in bad faith, but there could also be a lot who are just saying, yeah, he does work, and he's an asshole.
But that would only be fine with me if my only interest was making money off of this. I want the left to win, and for that to happen, that kind of shit needs to stop. It is actively counterproductive when we have an internal culture that incentivizes well everything that I talked about in those videos. And I'm not like warring a crusade against sensitivity. Contribute what you can to each, from each what they can, to each what they must. But when the culture is designed in such a way, well, no one designed it, but when it's built in a way that
Hmm.
incentivizes that kind of infighting, that kind of counterproductive anti-praxis, like this is a
Hmm.
structural issue that affects our
Hmm.
ability to reach out to people. There's a reason why for every one of us, by us I mean like leftists, not just like me, there
Sure.
are like a dozen reactionary like dipshitty white bros on YouTube, who
Hmm.
are all indistinguishable from one another. They're literal NPCs, and they probably
Hmm.
lead wretched, miserable lives. But holy shit, are they politically effective? They'll mass flag videos. You got to taste that. They'll coordinate with fucking doxing threads on 8chan. They'll raid
Hmm.
people's houses and have them swatted. They'll
Hmm.
fucking bomb Patreon campaigns. They'll leave negative Steam reviews. They'll do every dirty little trick in the book, and it works every single time. Usually we're just left to pick up the pieces and snarkily comment on how bad the thing they did was. This has
Hmm.
to stop. We're gonna die. We are
But
literally going to die if we don't do something about this.
But do you think that this is the overarching problem with the left? Because, like, I think what you're describing does happen, and it's shitty, but I don't think that it's like an all-consuming problem that we have. I don't.
I,
I
I
don't think
mean,
it's like a.
you are much more orthodox than I am, and you probably deal with a lot less bad faith shit than me by nature of our respective content. But I think the fact that our largest content creator, ContraPoints, was harassed off Twitter, I've seen people like this is like sociopathic to me. People have been like, "Oh, ContraPoints didn't really get canceled. Look, her Patreon is still doing well." Like, I'm sorry, we have like a finite amount of emotional energy. If you're directing so much hatred against your own allies that they're deleting their own fucking Twitter and putting account managers in place so they don't have to read all the negative hate mail they get, like
Mhm.
that cuts into our ability to do work. And that happened to Contra. I'm 10 times as edgy as her, and I'm not even close to being a reactionary. But you probably
Mhm.
don't get a lot of it because you are sensitive and kind. But and that's good. Well, that's good. That's good, and that is a good thing. But that on its own can't win the culture war. It's not
Mhm.
possible.
So okay, so my pushback when it comes to the Contra example is what is in ContraPoints, though, an example. 'Cause she's received a lot of criticism before on from different groups on the left. Isn't that an example too of someone who has an inability by virtue of their the grandiosity? She gets more flack and everything, but I've also seen a pattern where she doesn't respond well to criticism.
I don't
or
think so.
large scale criticism.
Every time I see criticism of Contra, it's like really stupid. I've gone over it too. At one point, I thought, like, okay, I like Contra, but I don't want to be like a stan or anything. I'm going to go over
Hmm.
and critically analyze every piece of information that people complain about when they talk about her being NB-phobic, because that's the main one for the most part.
Hmm.
And I went over all of it, and it was all really dumb. Everyone was
Hmm.
lying about it. None of it was representative about their complaints. I don't think it was
Hmm.
her unable to take criticism. It's just the left caustically attacking people within its
But
own
it wasn't
bounds.
the left collectively, right? Wasn't it the non-binary crew
Well,
that were
well, that's
wasn't
what
it like?
that's what I did during the Thought Slime drama because it was mostly fucking trans people saying dumbass shit to me on Twitter. But you tell few fucking trans people to kill themselves, and suddenly you get labeled a transphobe. What are you going to do, right? I don't really care which particular demographic. They were mostly leftists, and they did something that hurt the left, and people seem to keep wanting to paint over it. They like it's like gaslighting. Like we want to ignore that it happened. This doesn't
Mhm.
happen on the right to the same extent. They're more politically efficacious than us. I'm
Yeah, I
not
mean,
looking to compromise the sensitivity or the well-being of any of the marginalized groups in our community. I'm literally just asking that we look within our own communities and say, are we really acting in ways that are conducive towards like effective political engagement? And if not, why? But nobody wants to
mhm.
have that convo because it means criticizing people who will get upset if criticized.
Well, I mean, we're having that convo right now.
And that's why I like you. but but
But
we
but before we leave the ContraPoints thing, let me
yeah.
just say, like, I still think, and I still fundamentally believe, though, that the non-binary community has a valid reason to want to speak out in that situation. So they should be able to, if they want to speak out, because I don't think even ContraPoints, and this is someone who does, stan her. This is someone who is like one of her biggest fans. I infinitely love her content. I don't think that she's above reproach. I don't think anyone should be. I think you should still be able to be criticized for your statements as a monstrous public figure that ContraPoints is.
Yeah, I don't have a problem with criticism, but it wasn't criticism. It was bad faith criticism and outright attacks. Like
But wasn't
lots of
some of
it.
it and some of it wasn't, right? There's valid criticism and there's bad
Um,
faith criticism. It comes from it
I
comes
mean,
from
I
all
don't
sides.
have
We're
data on this, but I feel like, I mean, she deleted her Twitter. Like, it was a lot of really bad stuff. It depends on what parts of Twitter you're on, I guess. But
well,
again,
she's temporarily suspended it. It's back now.
yeah, I mean, yeah, she's back now, but like, it's an issue for me because when I look at the left, like 90% of my engagement with it is like people who are incredibly dishonest and politically inefficacious. But then when I talk
Hmm.
to other left-leaning content creators, they've made a market off of that community of incredibly politically inefficacious, sensitive people. So they
Sure,
don't
and that's
see that
that's terrible.
problem.
I think everyone can call that out. If you're just gonna make money or gain social capital off calling out other leftists, then you're fucking. There's no point to you, right? Like
No, no, no,
all you're
not
doing
not
is you're.
calling out, not calling out other leftists, appealing to a community in the left that doesn't deal
Mhm.
well with criticism and that relentlessly attack. I'm including you in this.
Sure,
I saw your Twitch chat when you were doing this stream about me. There were some
sure.
real dumb fucking comments in there.
Hmm.
You do this. Peter Coffin does this. Thought Slime does this. Sean does. They all do it because that's the core of the community, and it's really, really easy to set up a market there. But as soon as you start moving out further away from that community, you get ruthlessly attacked by the orthodox members of the original ones, and that makes it impossible to reach across the aisle and bring people over.
Hmm. So you're saying by virtue of me kind of being in the sphere, I'm not allowed to move too far out of it. Otherwise, I'll alienate my
You
own base
literally
that
opened
basically
this
funds me.
convo saying that you didn't want to like comment too much on the Thought Slime stuff because you're friends with Thought Slime. I would like I again I'm not blaming you for like keeping friends, and I would maybe do the same thing to an extent, but that's just a
Oh, no, 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 no,
reality.
no. Sorry, you misunderstood me. I don't want to comment. I don't want to speak about things I don't fully understand because I'll talk about the thought slam issue. We can bring that up next. And I will say that by prefacing, yes, I am friends with him. But what I was saying there is that I don't know as much about that situation as I probably should, especially when it comes to you are someone your master's or your bachelor's is in gender studies, right?
It's sociology with a minor in communications, but I
Oh, okay.
gender studies was one of the primary subjects of focus for
Oh,
my
okay, I was like,
sociology
why
degree.
did I think that? But anyways, when it comes to anything involving, because again, I'm a cishet, I'm not a gender, and I'm also not a gender abolitionist. So you would run circles around me on these subjects. So if anything, you could probably educate me a bit on these kind of topics, right? But when it comes to you and you having a battle with Thought Slime about topics related to gender or gender abolition, I have to say I don't know enough about this to be able to, make an educated comment on it. That would be my stance.
Yeah, and I wouldn't fault you, and I don't want to like rope you into like some big like proxy debate over defending someone else's position. That'd be infuriating for me to do. So I imagine it'd be infuriating for you to do. I did. By nature of the kind of communities that we build, we're going to experience different elements of the left. You are very kind and I think an unreproachably good person, which makes it very easy for you to see the best of the community because that's what they're looking for in their content creators. But the kind of kindness that you offer and the way in which you approach your content appeals mostly to people who are already on the left. That's a good thing.
Sure,
We need to keep that machine building forever.
I agree. I'm here for when you scoop up some alt righties and then they want to go further left and have me talk to them about theory and friendly happy things.
Yeah,
I'm not as effective as you at recruiting alt righters.
Yeah, and I'm pretty far left. And that's good, and that's a necessary part of the process. But much like building a base in StarCraft, expanding beyond the borders is a necessary prerequisite. The right has done this incredibly effectively. The right has set up shop in nearly every single major subculture, and like gaming is the big one, obviously, but gaming is now larger than movie consumption, and it is a distinctly right-wing hobby now. What the fuck happened? And it happened because the left wasn't around in 2014. I remember the threads back then when Gamergate was starting. The reactionary dipshitty wheel was beginning. People were starting to say stupider and stupider shit. And in the lefty communities I was in, people were like, whatever, it's just fucking gaming, fucking Xbox Live 13-year-old white boys. Who gives a shit? Whatever. They want to have their own little. And now 5 years later, and it is now a culture that every single day brings in probably tens of thousands of apolitical people who will, in some short manner of time, be churned out as far-right conservatives or even fascists. And we left that to them. And there are still people, when I talk about these issues, I'll be like, we need to do something to catch these fucking dipshits before they move to the right. And people will be like, why do we care about getting some dumbass white boys in on the left? Why do we need them? Because we're trying to fucking win. Because a dumbass white boy today could be a dumbass leftist white boy tomorrow. It's incredible.
And on that, I agree with you. Like, you have no pushback from me. I totally agree. And like I said, I think you individuals like yourself need to exist to do that. All right. I said that in my video as well. And again, I think, you know what, if I was to summarize both of our positions, and I could be wrong on this, I think your criticism of me is valid in that we have to leave our leftist safe spaces sometimes, our little bubbles, and acknowledge these kind of aspects of it. And I would still say that I think by virtue of being that individual who's going to recruit people, I think also we have to be open to criticisms and apologies sometimes. Like, I don't think part of being this alpha man persona that you've created to recruit people also means that you can also accept good faith valid criticisms, right?
When I get them, I'm not trying to be like bitter or anything. I agree. When I started this, I hoped that I could join when I saw how quickly my channel was growing, because I've been fairly fortunate. I've been very lucky. When I saw,
what do you have, 2,000 concurrent viewers right now?
Yeah,
I mean, that's incredible, dude. That's a huge audience.
It went pretty good.
You have us on hiker numbers.
It really is in large part due to fortune, part capitalizing on a market that Destiny left open when he stopped dealing with conservative. I started doing this right as Destiny stopped tackling the alt-right. So I probably benefited a lot from people moving over from that. So fortune coincides, what have you. When I originally started, I had hoped that I could link arms with the rest of BreadTube, and we could be like, okay, we have differences in our approach. We all want the same things. We all want the trans rights, racial equality. We want gender parity. We want socialism. There are some libs in BreadTube, but for the most part, we want socialism. We want we all share the same goals. We just have different ways of approaching. Like in the cool video games where the missiles all fire in different directions at first, but then they converge in the same target. That is what we are. We are a multidisciplinary task force. And now, like, I would just settle for 50% of the BreadTubers to not think I'm right-leaning. I would settle for that. And if I got more good faith engagement or criticism, if people would come on more often, I stream all the time. I'm always open to hear people critique me. I will never turn down an invitation to get like shit talked by anyone. If people would do that, I would love that. I would adore that. I don't know, and it's why I appreciate talking to you, by the way. I really do. Because it is sometimes difficult for me to remember that there are a plurality of perspectives when it comes to one's perception of the left. My perception isn't uniform. Okay, I don't know if people think that I'm going to try and like debate Godstiny them or something if they come on, like, all right, you are here now. Here are the axioms. Let us do battle, or anything like that. I would just like to have more conversations. It might help me relate more to the interests of more orthodox, sensitive, left-leaning people. That would probably be good for my content too, because it would help me have more information to build my, engagement off of. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't think it's like a black and white binary. I don't think that there is like a huge amount of leftists looking to destroy you in bad faith, as is there is also, I think people should also acknowledge, yeah, there are people acting in bad faith, and that is a problem. I think just bad faith arguing in general is a problem, right? Regardless
Yeah,
of
we
who it's
can win
coming
with
from.
good. We can win with good faith argument. The only time you should argue in bad faith is when your opponent has already committed to doing so, because at that point it's just about strength. And I think I excel in those I excel in those environments. Like if you're arguing with a Nazi, 5 minutes in, at first they'll start with, "I'm not a Nazi. I'm an identitarian who believes in a pan-European, alliance." And you get them 5 minutes through the buzzwords, and they're talking about how they want to like genocide the blacks. And once that happens, like there's no point in like actually arguing with them. You just have to posture. And make yourself stronger than them, because their audience will appreciate that. They only go after strength. They're like animals. So it's a strength.
Did you want me to address? I think you had a couple people in your chat paying you money to ask me questions. Did you want to?
Oh, is that? Hold on. Yeah, wait. Let me check. Sorry.
Do you want to get your social capital?
Yeah, I haven't. Yeah. Here, a second. Sorry, I wasn't even looking at the donos. JK with the $5 at the Serfs. What? Okay, wait, really quick, guys. I really like the Serfs. Please don't be mean to the Serfs. Why are you fine?
I want the main questions.
All right. Why are you fine with all reactionaries, one free speech, but not with leftists fighting back with? Wait, I'm sorry. Did I misread this? Why are you fine with all reactionaries, one free speech, but not with leftist fighting back with vigor? I'm not sure what the one free speech means, but that is the question.
I don't. Can you translate that into English for me? I don't fully understand the question.
I'm
guessing.
Okay, I think the question is, why are you okay with or why are you pro free speech, in the sense that when you're talking with reactions, you'll be like, yeah, I'm with free speech. I'm in favor of free speech. But then
they might have misconstrued my opinion. I'm for free speech within the limits of free speech under our current laws, right? I'm not one of those free speech warriors who believes that that it's totally fine to intentionally misgender or marginalize groups in order to get your point across. That's not me. That's more of the Dave Rubin man kind of camp, or the Tim Pools.
Yeah, I'm okay with basically anything as long as the outcomes are good. I think I said this in a video that also got me canceled, but I said like I don't like it when people deontologically like make the argument that like saying the N-word is bad. I would rather they did it from a consequentialist perspective, because otherwise conversations can get really dumb really fucking quickly. Do you know what I mean?
I know what you mean. I guess we disagree there, though. Like I do think saying the N-word is bad.
I think it's like generally bad.
Like, yeah, well, saying that word. Well, I mean, especially like as a white person, I don't.
Yeah. I'd say. I mean, I would make the argument that nothing is intrinsically bad. Like it all depends on its consequences.
Sure.
And you would do like a rule utilitarian thing. But yeah, for the like, I would never argue like, hey, so and so like said the N-word in class today. Oh, well, hold on, that might not be bad. Let's analyze the consequences. Like, no, like for the most part, in a pragmatic sense, Hold on, let's go over Awesome09 with the $2. I blame Tim Pool and SJWs for the left infighting. Tim Pool and SJWs, or is this AJWs? Anti-justice warriors?
People were really excited to pay you money to ask you questions.
Yeah, guys, it doesn't hurt to proofread. I feel really bad when I can't understand the fucking messages. All right. Oh, hold on. Wait. JK with the $2. Sorry, typed fast, didn't edit. What? Why wouldn't you retype it in this style? What? No, you said, but wait.
But now they're gonna pay another $2 to get.
Hey,
To
yeah.
get it
Hey,
out
next
there.
one better be a $5 dono buddy, or I'm not reading it. Okay, hold on. Oh god,
Okay,
Gyro.
here
Oh, sorry, sorry.
can I say I've only got like 5 minutes left.
Oh
So
yeah, yeah, yeah.
can
I
I
don't
bring
mean to
up
take away your
one last
time.
point because I never got to talk to you about this, and this is one thing that did bug me that I did want to bring up.
Hmm.
The idea of debating or bringing on people like Blair White. Can I ask you about that? And can I ask why? Like I know that pissed off a lot of the trans members in my community, for example, and they like this was something that I was asked to bring up to you. Why would you normalize her or like make her seem like as almost adorable by getting her to dab and stuff like that?
Yeah. So that I think that debate is the one that I regret the most. Usually,
Okay.
I have two approaches when I go into a debate. Most of the time, I'm just there to look stronger and smarter than them, to crush them, to make them look like an idiot in front of their followers. That's usually all you can do in debates with reactionaries. And
Sure.
for the most part. However, there have been two times I've tried something different. With Hunter Avalone, I tried to go a little bit softer and try and more directly appeal to him rather than appealing to an imagined audience.
Didn't you crush him? Am I thinking of a different
I
debate?
mean, I blew him the fuck out. But
Yeah.
I think I did it in a way that facilitated an engagement afterwards, and I was right because now he and I are friendly in DMs, and I think that can be step one to moving people over. And moving one content creator over is worth moving 100,000 non-content creators over, especially at that size. But I still think I did good in the debate. With Blair White, I fucked up that balance. I was trying to meet this interstice between blowing her the fuck out and being likable enough to be able to talk with her in the future and get gossip on Steven Crowder and Dave Rubin, who I know she has beef with, in the hopes that if I could talk with her about that, I could kind of like use her as a wedge, you know? But I fucked up,
Okay.
and I fucked up on both parts. I didn't go hard enough in the argument. There were so many points I could have caught her on. So many times she lied to me. People were providing me screenshots, and I looked over them, and I was like, no, I'm gonna go and try use the wedge thing. But I wasn't nice enough to be able to talk to her after because now she doesn't respond to me in DMs. So that was just just a poor engagement on my part. But
Okay.
it is difficult to walk that line.
Yeah. No. Of course. No,
I still think I did decent on most of those points. I don't think anyone could come away from that debate thinking that her trans medicalist take was in any way like valid. Like because any argument made along trans medicalism could also be used to invalidate her. But
no, of course. But she is a figure, being as kind of like damaging as she is. There's also something to be said about normalizing her just as a public figure alone, right?
yeah, I mean, she has like a huge audience compared to mine, so I wasn't worried about giving her exposure. It was more like, yeah, I didn't want to give the impression after that she's like, oh, cutesy, we just disagree on opinions, oh, because she really is like a monster when it comes to her perspectives. Yeah, no, I definitely could have handled that one a lot better. I probably would agree with most of the criticisms that your audience would foster onto me.
Okay. Well, I gotta go, Vosh. Let's do this again. We can talk about maybe some issues in more depth because I know we only kind of skirted the surface and it was more just us dancing around some of these things. But I appreciate you having me on and having the dialogue.
I appreciate you being willing to come on. As before, it's fun. I mean, we actually haven't spoken to one another ever, which is funny because
True.
I've probably engaged with you more than almost any other lefty on YouTube.
What? Really?
None of you people will talk to me.
Oh, we've written to each other like twice.
You have listen. It's bad out there. Listen, my DMs my DMs are for my fucking D&D buddies these days. Okay, the bread tubers got real fucking cold shouldery. I should have no trouble getting this one from you. Can I get a trans rights?
Yeah, trans rights all the fucking day. I'm actually running a charity for trans rights on October 18th, so please tell your audience if they're interested. The weekend of October 8th, I'm going to be doing like a 3-day charity drive for the Trans Lifeline, which is a really important organization that obviously acts as a 24/7 volunteer-based lifeline for people who are vulnerable and might have suicidal ideation. So
That's
it's a really good
phenomenal.
cause.
I hope it goes really
Yeah.
well. I actually okay, this sounds grifty. I actually wanted to do like a charity thing a little while ago. There was just a period of time where it felt like it'd be a good idea, but but it was right after the Thought Slime drama, and I was worried people were going to accuse me of grifting. Like, oh, here I'm making up for it. I'm gonna have to wait like 3 more months, and then maybe my public perception will be good enough that I can do that kind of shit.
You're working on the rebuild, right?
Yeah. One last
The
thing.
redemption.
Did you know that in the highly racist Nazi Anglish. It's like English, but it's Anglo-Saxon words only, so it doesn't have any of the filthy, impure, corrupt influences of degenerate race languages. Trans rights translates directly into kinswitcher decrees.
No, I did not know that.
That's actually true. I learned that from a caller.
Oh, interesting.
Anyhow,
I did learn something.
have a good one.
All right, cheers.
Cheers. All right. That went that actually went a lot better than I expected it to. Oh man. Yeah, that went pretty well. I think that's about as good of a conversation as I can have along these axes.